Well, I've been ripped off at like a little bit, you know. If you do think you're gonna go to Mexico, it's not that it's changed in the world, it's changed where you live. It's kind of weird, like I never have that feeling anymore, like I need to... I think we found it. So right now I'm at the beautiful Parque La Paz in Merida, and that means Park of the Peace, which is the perfect place for this video. So a few years ago my life looked pretty different. I'd say it was probably the standard American lifestyle, commuting across 8 lanes of traffic every day, spending a lot of time in my car, going to my job, at my job, coming home. And on paper, everything was fine. I mean, I had a decent job. I was making above average with my wife. We were both working, only shared one car. So on paper, everything was great, you know? And I like how, even talking about this right now, I start to talk about the expectations of the American life, you know, what you're expected to do. Have a car, drive to work, do all this stuff that you think is the right way to live your life. But somehow life still felt pretty empty. And it just seemed a little bit strange, like there was something more calling me. And I mean, I have to say I love driving. I've always been into cars, always been a car guy. And I think driving represents, for me, freedom. It's the ability to move really fast and go different places that you couldn't normally go without a car. But when you have to get in that car every day, drive 2 hours a day through traffic with a bunch of crazy people on the road, it starts to wear down on you. It starts to be like, well, hey, driving's something I enjoy. Why don't I enjoy this anymore, you know? I like to go hiking. I like to go into the mountains. I like to explore different landscapes. It started to become too much of a necessity. Like, oh man, I need to go hiking. I need to go, you know, to Lake Tahoe this weekend just to unwind. There's so much stress around me, I just really needed nature to escape. I mean, I think all of us need nature. I think it's important to just have a moment where we go sit with plants around us and just think for a little bit. That was just becoming too much of a necessity. Like I just really needed to get out, and I was almost becoming stressed about needing to go into nature. It was like I'm having a fun unwind trip, but it's like, no, I need to go drive 2 hours to go to a hiking trail so I can make sure I do this loop. And it's like, it was just kind of, it just didn't make sense. Just like, why am I so far removed from life, you know? So I really started to feel like doing what I'm supposed to do is less about the world telling me how to live my life the best I can, but ways to funnel my money into corporations that actually don't have my best interest in mind. But let's take it back. Let's take it back for a minute. I grew up in the Midwest, but when I was living in the Midwest, I always had this dream of living in like a tropical island. And I didn't really connect it at the time, but probably because we got buried in snow for a huge part of the year and everything was cold. And also, while there is a lot of great people in the Midwest, I have to say that there's also a lot of negativity. I think there's a lot of me versus them mentality that I just from a young age never really liked being a part of. It really didn't make sense to me. It just seemed like that place was coming more from fear and you know, this whole, well, that's not like how I am, so therefore it must be scary and wrong. I just always thought that was silly, and that's not something I really wanted to be a part of. I also was drawn to the fact that people are more laid back in these tropical places. Like I always thought of like Thailand, or I wanted to move to Hawaii for a while. You know, people kind of just live in life and no snow, and that just sounded really great to me. So I packed up my bags and moved to the closest place that I thought that was possible for my time. California. Packed up everything, moved to Sacramento, shout out Sacktown, and everything was going great. Honestly, my wife and I, we both got jobs in the healthcare industry, paying pretty well. We were in a really cool place with some really great nature that we could explore and live great. But I noticed something else, and that was a little bit more open-mindedness from people there. I noticed it was really nice because we'd go to a coffee shop and we would hear the table next to us talking about their big plans and big things they were doing in their life, and nobody was really being negative about it. Everyone was just pretty casual, pretty supportive, and same with me. I noticed, you know, I was always kind of somebody who had my head in the clouds a little bit. I like to try weird stuff. I think in California that was way more accepted. And for example, when I was working in an office, you know, for a healthcare insurance company, my hair started growing a little bit long and I was a little bit self-conscious, and I went up and told people, I said, hey, oh man, I know I need to get my hair cut pretty soon. I know it's a little unprofessional. And they just looked at me. They just looked at me like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, your hair's fine. So that just, you know, something in my soul just felt a lot better. It just felt more comfortable. And I started to learn that it's not your car that makes your life happy. It's, are you around like-minded people? And do you feel safe to be yourself? So I started to realize just how bad that mentality was for my nervous system, just how tense and on guard it made. And we enjoyed California for a couple years. Things were going great, you know, actually more like 7 years or so. So I felt really home at California. After the pandemic, the homeless situation just exploded. So it was starting to get kind of crazy. And the homeless situation, we would be going for walk, you know, we'd have to avoid multiple tweakers on the way. Like, it was starting to get pretty crazy. And like, there are places in California you can move to avoid these kind of things. Yeah, you have to be prepared to spend a lot of money. And I will say, everything that I just said about California with the tweakers and homeless and being expensive, and I really had to move back to the United States for whatever reason, I'd probably go back to California, because in all reality, that stuff isn't nearly as dangerous as the mentality of this fear and us versus them, and just listening to the news and the propaganda. And so as you can tell, all this stressful stuff, things getting expensive, homeless people, corporations sucking your soul. All I knew, it was time to go. It was time for our next adventure. I mean, running away from your problems is never the answer, right? But it worked so well the first time, coming to California. So we looked elsewhere. My wife and I actually almost bought a home in Arizona. Seems kind of cool, Arizona, not gonna lie, but I don't know why I thought to do that. In Mexico, there is a unity from what I see. Mexico is a place that is very passionate about Mexico. And they have an attitude of like, hey, if you just want to come, if you want to come here, that's fine, just don't be an just don't be an everything will be great, you know, just treat people with respect. And I feel like I was drawn a lot to that mentality, because that's at the end of the day the things that were driving me the most crazy about living in the United States is respect. No one seems to have respect for each other. I mean, we wanted to just experience a different culture. My dad was an immigrant. He came from another country. Like, I saw that play out for him. And I feel like I've always been a little bit curious about that. Like, can I go to another country and, you know, eventually learn the culture, be able to fit in, and, you know, do the best I can and actually live a more peaceful life? So basically we decided on Merida. We didn't know Spanish. My wife took it to school. She knew a little bit. But we heard that Merida was pretty friendly about people learning Espanol, and also the safety thing. So Merida is one of the safest cities in all of North America. So that includes the United States, Canada, and Mexico. In all reality, that sounded very interesting, because I've never lived anywhere that safe. I wanted to see what the hype was about. I wanted to actually see if I could live somewhere in peace for a while. I don't know if you can hear, but there's some music going on. This park has little speakers set up. There's like little ambient, peaceful music going on here. It's kind of cool. Some background music for my story. You don't have to put any background music in the video. Everything is pretty laid back. When you go into these big events, you really see all kinds of people together. All kinds of people that are together. Nobody's really drunk. Well, I'm sure people are drunk, but nobody's acting out. Nobody's causing any problems. So I left the park. I'm hunting for something really cool right now. Apparently, there's an old abandoned building in the back of this neighborhood here. So right now I have to walk through Parque Centenario, which is connected to a totally free, amazing park to go to that has a really nice zoo in it, totally free as well, if you want to check out someday if you come here. And when you're passing through Parque Centenario, watch out for these guys, because they're in the middle of the way. Sometimes it's easy, you don't want to step on them. They're going to give you a nice little tail thwap. But this place that I'm going to, it's supposed to be an old place that somebody designed to look exactly like old ancient Mayan ruins, but it's actually a new modern building. I guess it used to be a nightclub, but it shut down for whatever reasons. Now I see people coming and exploring it, so I thought it might be a good place to come check out, talk a little bit more about why I came here and why I left. But as you can see, look at all this cool stuff. I mean, there's just so much stuff you could just go to and walk around. Like, I remember in the United States, I always used to say, like, one of the biggest things is, man, there's nothing to do. I'm bored. Now coming here, I see, yeah, there's actually nothing to do. Like, if I was a kid, like, this would definitely be where I'd want to be. Like, people are just out riding little go-kart cars around all the time everywhere. Like, people can just scooter around in the mall. Like, it's amazing. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? And I need to go out of the zoo into the neighborhood, and that's where this abandoned Mayan ruin building is. I think we found it. Kind of cool, right? Apparently the policia is there. I wonder if that means we can't go in or we can go in. So we did it. We came to Merida. We didn't know if we were gonna like it. We didn't know if we were gonna stay or go. We rented an Airbnb in this neighborhood called Miguel Alemán, which anytime I tell people about Miguel Alemán in Merida, they say, oh, it's where my grandma lived. So I think we moved into an old people neighborhood, extremely family centric. There was a park where everybody meets in every night with carnival games, and people like to skate and stuff. And it's just really cool to see. It was like a lot of stuff from the 90s and just a lot of ways that I lived growing up that I felt like was gone forever, but still totally going on great in Mexico. But with the advantage of having cell phones, having modern technology and modern everything. I mean, it's really cool to be somewhere that is living closer to how the rest of the world is actually living. It's more organic life, I'd say, here in Mexico. But at first, everything wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. Like when we first came here, I had learned Spanish 6 months before I moved, and I might as well not have done anything, because when I came, nobody could understand anything that I was saying. I would be saying the words right, but it didn't matter. Like, I would go out to give the delivery guy a code, which is 3 numbers, like 643, I'd say 643, and he'd go ocho. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, my accent, I literally, not at all. Nobody could understand me at all. Look at these mountain goats. And I remember walking around having this feeling like I was going to get in trouble. Just walking around a park at night, I was just waiting for somebody to tell me I'm doing something wrong. But people really keep to themselves. Like, people don't just look at somebody, like, unless they're actually being a I think that's why I love it so much, because everyone pretty much leaves each other alone, gives each other space to live, be themselves. Except when you're being a then everybody will jump on you, and that's great. I'll jump on you too. I'm cool with that. I mean, because that's who we should be punishing, not people from other races, people from other backgrounds as us. We should be punishing the people who are the people who want to just make things miserable for everyone else around you, just for their own physical comfort. People are just hanging out in the monkey cage. So that was basically the first year. Me just being confused everywhere I went, you know, being a little bit on edge. But around the year 2 mark, things started to change. I started to feel a little bit more comfortable going in places. But basically, it would take me all day just to go one place, because it took so much energy out of me just to prepare, study my Spanish, go in. Or then year 2 was a little bit different. Year 2 was more like, I'm not scared to go in places anymore, but I still have no idea how to communicate. My Spanish was still not good enough to carry a conversation. But what ended up happening is I would go into the store and I just knew it was going to be a train wreck. I was just okay with it being a train wreck, you know what I'm saying? So before my Spanish was enough to communicate with people, I had to get comfortable just knowing that everything was going to fall apart. Getting used to, you know, going in and that face people make when you know they're not understanding what you're saying. Another thing worth mentioning is, at first, I didn't want to judge myself or judge anything, because things were going pretty bad for other reasons too. Like, in all reality, I was detoxing everything, all my bad habits from the United States. The food here had a lot less salt in it. It tasted much more fresh, much more real, much less processed. Coming from California, I like to smoke hella weed. And the reality is, I didn't have anyone to buy weed from. So all these things were just kind of detoxing, like making me a little bit more just paranoid of everything and not really taking everything for what it is. But deep down, something seemed right about it. It felt very authentic way to live, and people around seemed to be getting along very happily. So why did I stay? Why didn't I leave Mexico? I mean, after all these things I said, it was hard. I mean, the number one thing that drives people away is the heat. And if you absolutely hate and can't stand the heat, maybe Merida's not for you. There's plenty of places in Mexico that have a cool temperature all year round. I mean, you get this warm tropical breeze that comes through most of the time. We're close enough to the ocean to get a little bit of a ocean breeze filtered through all these trees. I mean, the Yucatan is just nothing but solid trees once you get out of Merida, so it just creates like a really amazing breeze. I love the tropical weather, and the heat is just kind of like the price I have to pay for all that, in my opinion. After a while, I really started warming up to things. Like, I didn't miss exploring at all because I had a whole new place to explore. I mean, Merida is full of greenery, full of parks. It's kind of weird, like I never have that feeling anymore like I need to escape to nature. Because there's nature all around me. As you can see, there's so much greenery in this park alone, and this is in the middle of the city. There still definitely is a car culture. The car culture is awesome here. You know, I've still seen really expensive cars. I've seen McLarens. These nice cars are here, but there's also a lot of cars that I just can't find in the United States. Suzuki's. We got the Jimny down here. There's a whole bunch of Chinese cars that we can't get in the United States. Here, there's car shows, there's Vochos. It is cool, it just takes a different form. I like the fact that not every car on the road is an SUV, and I can actually safely drive a smaller vehicle here. Something else I really love about Mexico is the culture of respect. Like, I feel like it's just built into the culture not to want to fight with your fellow Mexicans. I mean, like what's going on right here. But it's really interesting because, you know, I'll be walking down the road and people just move out of the way like normal. That's something that's stuck with me. Is in the USA, certain places, it's like you'll be walking down the street and there's some kind of little weird power game that's happening where they're gonna see if they don't move out of the way until the last minute. It's just not my style. Like, I'd rather just get out of the way, everybody's happy, everybody's peaceful. But here, people are people. They do have their own opinions that might not be favorable, but I think people keep to themselves a lot more. People don't, you know, they might discuss among their family, but people aren't out like this us and them mentality. Like, we're all out trying to have a good day. No one's trying to cause problems for anyone else, really. I wonder if that's a little more than fighting going on. We're gonna keep walking. And the thing about hiking, like, I don't see a lot of hiking trails down here. You know, there are tons of places to go walk in nature. A bunch of different places you can go to see Mayan ruins and stuff. Never once has a police officer asked me for bribe money. Never once have I been, well, I've been ripped off at like a little bit, you know. I think Merida has been quite different from places like Cancun and Quintana Roo, where those places were literally created to take your money and to funnel into tourism. Here in Merida, people have a lot of pride. I mean, this has been thousands of years. This has been a city. People aren't ready to just take your money and like looking for gringos to take money from. Like, yeah, people might, like these vendors in the street might charge you more for something. But that all goes away if you know what the price is and just ask, like, hey. But in reality, it's like Mexico has got some really cool stuff going for it. Does that mean I think you should just jump and move to Mexico? No, absolutely not. I mean, I think if you are tired of the same kind of BS that I'm talking about, I think you'll love Mexico. But I think a lot of people don't want to go through the uncomfortability. ¿Están cerrando? Oh. The reality is, to experience the joys of Mexico, I had to go through a lot of uncomfortability being in somewhere that I just feel like I don't belong. And I think something interesting is there's a lot of this narrative in the United States of like, oh, things aren't like they used to be. Everything's, you know, changed. We used to go out in the park and play and all this stuff. And it's not that it's changed in the world. It's changed where you live. It's changed in the United States. But like, for example, mall culture. You know, everybody says, oh, Jeff Bezos launched Amazon and now all the malls are dying. Like, well, Amazon's here. Mercado Libre's here. But malls aren't dying. I have multiple malls from my house within like a 10-20 minute walk. I literally can choose which mall I want to go to. One has an ice skating rink. You know, there's like a wakeboarding park in another mall around here. Come on, guys. We got Don Omar. We got Beyonce here. We got Madonna. All in this tilt-a-whirl machine. We got it all in Mexico. I mean, in the rainy season, plants just explode with life. There's green everywhere. There's fruit that just come from the trees when I'm just walking down the road. And it's interesting because like going into this, you know, I didn't feel like Mexico was my culture. I didn't feel like, you know, this is the place that I was born. But you know, I was born in the United States, but I don't even feel like that's my culture. If you think about it, it's a pretty new country. It wasn't that long ago that we were all living closer to how people are living in Mexico. I mean, there's market culture, there's organic life, and I feel like there's problems everywhere. Mexico has its own problems. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. Overall, it's really interesting how, in the end, I feel like I can relate more with people here in Mexico than I can in my own country that I'm from, the United States. I mean, all these things I say, like having a culture of respect, being able to look past all the lies that you're being told. People have the ability to call out things when it doesn't seem fair. And reality, you know, I feel like after a few years, I feel like I can relate more with this culture than I can my own culture. You know, now I've been here almost 4 years and things are pretty great. My Spanish, well, it's not perfect. It's good enough to have conversations. It changes everything when you know Espanol. If you do think you're gonna go to Mexico, learn Spanish right away. It's the difference of just being confused and terrified every time you go in somewhere versus being able to actually ask the simple question that you need without any issues. Like here, I just asked this guy, like, when are you guys gonna fill this pool back up? And he told me, oh, in like 3 weeks or so. That's not something that I would have done when I first came here. So that's the number one thing that I can say is learn Spanish. So that's it. Again, go ahead and give it a like if you support people trying to open up and be more vulnerable on YouTube. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Adios.